Before we begin the following program, we would like to say that, in our opinion, it is not suitable for children or those of you who are of a Marxist or misandrist disposition.
Oh, for God's sake!
I don't like it.
Hello, Grumpies. Turns out 44 is the magic number, not 420 or even 42. Elon Van Statten Musk just bought the internet for $44 billion with a B dollars. Yes, I know he only really bought TwitTwat, but the free publicity he and Tesla are getting as a result is priceless and worth every penny. I've got a Twitter account for Whoopix, but I never use it, mostly because Twitter is a cesspit of left-wing authoritarian scumbags, the intellectually inadequate, publicity-seeking narcissists, woke wankers, and the sort of fuckwits who take all the fun out of fandom. As you might expect, the woke lefties, the rainbow allies, and the penis women are all having a collective temper tantrum at Twitter being owned by the wrong sort of billionaire, which is almost as funny as CNN Plus going down the toilet after 3 weeks, but much more amusing to watch. Something else that's also been fun to watch is the totally predictable ratings car crash that is the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker agenda platform that is Dr. Pooh. Yes, on the one hand, it's depressing and distressing to see the show you used to love in such a state of decay. But on the other, it's no less than the bastards deserve. The overnights for their latest pile of shite, Legend of the Sea Devils, or Return of the Turtle Men, or The Scissoring of the Doctor, or whatever you want to call it, were a pathetic 2.2 million. Now, I'm of the opinion that it's the overnights that are the really important number when it comes to Doctor Who's viewing figures, not the official 7-day consolidated. For one thing, the overnight is the only true point of comparison between the two iterations of Doctor Who, the original 1963-89 run and the 2005 and beyond run we are suffering through right now. The overnight is the modern equivalent of what we had to do back in the day, which is watch it as it went out or miss it, probably forever. The overnight is an indication of just how many people are that interested that they want to watch it as soon as they can, right now. They don't want to miss it, they don't want to wait. Hollywood does the same thing. They always look to see what the number is for the opening weekend. How many people were that hyped for the film that they wanted to see it straight away, like the upcoming Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. More on that in another video. Now the Whittaker shills online and Tom Spilsbury Donut in DWM, they all do what they can to spin the numbers as a positive in percentage terms and chart placings and overall audience, but we all know there's no disguising how bad the figures are. But nobody, not the Guardianistas at the Biased Broadcasting Corporation, the children on WhoTube, the fan wankers at Jizz Finish, or the Muppets at Dr. Pooh magazine, is willing to admit that the Vagina Doctor has been an artistic abomination and a ratings disaster. They'd much rather cling to their delusions than deal with reality. And the reality is that the Return of the Turtlemen's overnight of 2.2 million makes it the lowest rated episode of Doctor Who ever. And before you start, don't give me the battlefield defence. Less people watched the Turtlemen live as it went out than watched Battlefield Part 1. And that was with almost zero publicity and going up against Coronation Street. The Turtlemen had the entire internet to help promote it. And still, less people watched Whittaker scissoring Thasmin than watched Sylvester McCoy doing Sword and Sorcery. Which brings us to the consolidated 7-day figure, which of course is not gerrymandered in any way, and which is no better than the overnight. The consolidated number is, wait for it, 3.47 million, which is a big catch-up than there's been for a while. But it's still the lowest rated episode of New Who ever since 2005. So, take your pick. Either way, It's the lowest rated episode of Doctor Who yet, either simply the lowest ever of the return run, if you prefer the delusion of the consolidated numbers, or the lowest of both runs, if you go by the overnights, which I say is a much better point of comparison between Classic Who and New Who, and a more accurate indicator of the show's popularity, or lack thereof. The final consolidated figure for Return of the Turtle Men of 3.4 is lower than the 4.3 of Groundhog Day of the Daleks. So in terms of ups and downs, Shittiger's audience has gone up 6 times and gone down 22 times. Now with one more episode to go, Time of the She-Devils, it's not unreasonable to expect that number to be higher than the one for Return of the Turtle Men. So when it's all said and done, Jodie Whittaker's audience will have gone up 7 times and down 22 times. Wow. And there you have it, the proof that the BBC's Lurch to Youth chasing all those 16 to 34-year-olds has been a huge success. Not. So, Phasmin and the Turtle Men was a disaster, which is good news for those of us who prefer Doctor Who to Doctor Pooh. The other piece of good news, if you're a non-lefty, is that the Turtle Men shite consolidated drags Whittaker's average audience number even lower than it was before. Prior to the Turtle Men, Whittaker's average audience was 5.1 million, lower than Capaldi. Now it's down to 4.2 million, which makes her less popular than Sylvester McCoy. You see, I told you history was repeating itself. Now for Whittaker's farewell episode, Time of the She-Devils, both numbers, overnight and consolidated, will obviously be higher than Return of the Turtle Men, given that a lot of people will be tuning in for the last 5 minutes to see the woke witch burn, and maybe who she turns into. If the rumours currently doing the rounds are to be believed, we're going to get the announcement of who RTD2 has cast as the 14th Doctor before Whittaker burns, which could, depending on who it is, boost the numbers considerably. But for Whittaker's average audience to go above Capaldi's and avoid having her go down in history as the least popular new series Doctor, and possibly ever, that figure will need to be in the region of at least 8 million. At least. The sooner Whittaker burns, the better. She's the Brie Larson of Doctor Who. Nobody likes her, she's got no charisma, and Joanna Lumley would have made it a very different show. Just as Captain Marvel, without cheesy arsehole, would have been a very different film. But we didn't get a likeable Captain Marvel, and we didn't get a proper 13th Doctor either. Instead, we got a feminazi propaganda fest, thanks to the wokerati infecting everyone with the collective cultural insanity of the vagina virus. Which is why I haven't watched a single episode of Doctor Who for the past 5 years. And I was on the fan bus for 45 fucking years before that male feminist moron Chibnub grabbed the steering wheel and crashed it into the canal after 5 minutes in charge, the talentless twat. And then people wonder why I'm a grumpy old fan, because you know what? This shit really pisses me off. As soon as she regenerates, they're fucking better. Fucking Chibnub, fucking Whittaker, Lecky woke wankers, don't fuck NPC drones. Shit for brains, SJWs, fucking fan shit, Marxists, misogynists, identity politics, idiots, anti-Semitic, socialist, lefty, muff trapper, stupid job bastard. I say fuck 'em. Fuck 'em all. Oh, hello. New voice. That's weird. Now where was I? Oh yes. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this vagina, Dr. Bollocks. I think it's time we talked about something else. Until the next time, this is the new incarnation of the grumpy old fan, reminding you to resist those Marxist bastards, don't be a sheep, and stay grumpy. Are all the woke wankers in the world making you grumpy too?
Yes!
Fed up with the fuckwits taking all the fun out of fandom? Don't be a sheep. Like, share, subscribe to the Grumpy Old Fan.
If you're a lefty and have been affected by any of the issues raised in this program,
Fuck off!